Hello, hello. Welcome back to my channel. You guys, I know you're going to laugh, but also not be surprised when I tell you that I'm starting a new podcast, a second podcast. Don't worry, Freelance Friday is not going anywhere, but I have had the idea to start a podcast called Content Creator Confessions for, I think, a couple of years now, is when I got the branding done for it originally. And I was just waiting for the right moment. Long story short, I realized it really needs to be a conversational show, not a solo cast. Hosting Freelance Friday is honestly hard enough. I love it. It's my baby, but it is very difficult coming up with topic after topic and trying to be entertaining, but also informative all by yourself for 5 years running, I think now. So, long story short, I was so excited when one of my best friends in life and definitely in business, Ryan, expressed interest in having a similar type of podcast. And so we are joining forces. We've got a conversational podcast all about being a content creator. It's called Content Creator Confessions. I will leave the links for it down below. You can subscribe on Spotify and YouTube and all the places. And yeah, it's going to be a good time. Basically, the goal of it is to just kind of knock down some of the secrecy that exists within the content creator space. We are both full-time content creators. I've been doing it for 11 years in some way. He's been doing it for almost as long, I think. And so we have a lot of experience. We also both have experience working on the brand side. We've both worked at agencies and owned our own businesses and agencies and social media marketing firms. And so I hope it's just a good conversation and will help some of you all who are looking to get started in this industry. So today's episode is a little teaser, and I thought it would be fun to post here on my main channel anyway, because I haven't really shared my whole origin story in a really long time. And this community is always growing, which I'm so grateful for. And so I know a lot of you are new here and don't really know like how I got started as a content creator and what my journey has been like. So Ryan kind of interviews me in this episode about what it was like to start as a film student and retail manager and now be a full-time content creator. So hope you enjoy this episode. Please subscribe to the main podcast. I won't be posting the main podcast here. I will just be doing this episode here. So make sure to subscribe to Content Creator Confessions everywhere, and I'll see you over there and in the comments. Let me know how you like this one. All right.
And we're on air.
Hello.
Hi.
Hey, Rye.
Hi.
How's it going?
I don't know. I was thinking about starting a little show, doing a little show,
Yeah. I have been wanting to do like a joint show
Yes.
for so long.
You've talked about it for a while.
Yeah.
It's been, I would say, at least a couple years.
Yeah. I mean, I've done a solo show for I think 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I don't think about like not to toot my own horn or anything, but
Toot
it's
it.
a lot.
Toot
It's
it.
a lot of content you have to come up with. And I'm
Yes.
honestly not that entertaining of a person. Like I'm keeping it real. I'm good at giving advice and like
Yes.
practical stuff, but I feel like it's
You're not like a song and dance
No.
type.
Meanwhile,
I'm more in the I literally perform. I love
Yes.
performing. Dancing I'm getting into very much. So yeah, it can be, but that's why I think we meld so well
Yeah.
together and have good conversations just in our, typical life
Yeah.
and our private life, you can even say.
Yeah.
And it would be nice that we're bringing those conversations now to
the masses.
to the masses.
To you all.
To you all.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Please take a second to subscribe. Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe and leave a comment if you liked the show.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah. So what are we talking about today?
Today, I thought it'd be nice to talk about your journey to becoming a paid content creator.
Yeah.
Which I think is a big difference because I think we both have gone through the process of just creating content.
Yeah.
And then there's actually doing it for part of your living and
Mhm.
having that added pressure, the ins and outs, being it some stuff on your own, obviously some stuff having a team.
Yeah.
But I feel like the day-to-day, which sparked us having this episode,
Yeah.
is just wanting to talk about the life of a content creator.
Yeah.
Period.
For
Would
sure.
you agree?
Yeah, definitely.
So in starting that, I want to know more about how you started, like even down to like educational level.
Mhm. Yeah. So I started my YouTube channel as a part of a film class, actually. I took a film class in high school. I think it was like my junior year of high school.
Mhm.
I took my first film class. Actually, middle school. I took my
All the way
first
back to middle school
Yeah, I took
too.
my first TV broadcasting class in middle school.
Okay.
I went to magnet schools for the arts, so we
Mhm.
always had, like, really interesting arts programs. And so, yeah, I did my first, like, newsroom class in, I think, 7th or 8th grade.
They did always do, like, those, like, news like,
Yeah,
if you wanted to, I think I never took part in it, but
yeah.
they did always have, like, "Do you wanna be doing this the student news?" Was
Yes.
that it?
Yeah,
Kind
pretty
of
much,
also?
yeah, it was like that in middle school, so I learned how to do teleprompter and stuff, but then yeah, it was really fun,
That's
actually.
cool. Thinking about it, I didn't even relate that to, like,
Yeah.
skills now,
Yeah.
or, like, starting that early.
Totally. And then when I was in high school, we had this program called Education for the Arts, and it was like all the area high schools, not just Kalamazoo Public Schools, like all of the schools
Mhm.
could go downtown Kalamazoo and take these different arts
That's
classes.
cool.
And so I took the film one, and that one was more like creative film.
Mhm.
And yeah, we had to create YouTube channels to upload our projects. Well, we didn't have to, I guess, but
Yeah,
our
but
instructor was like, if you want to show your friends and family what you're
Mhm.
creating, put it on this
Share it on
website
this
called YouTube. This
Yeah,
random
because
website.
I mean, I always think of YouTube and when it came up in the perspective of Charlie bit my finger. Like,
Mhm.
that was for me was, like, when everyone started really going to YouTube to watch stuff.
Yeah.
Was it around the time YouTube
Yeah.
was kind of just starting? Because that sounds like timing-wise, it might line up
Two,
when it was getting popular.
2008, I guess, or I think 2008 is when I started my YouTube channel.
Okay. So,
So
yeah, that'd
I
be pretty
graduated high
early.
school in 2009.
Do you have those old videos?
Oh yeah. I we can splice them in if you want. I mean, you guys have to understand, kids these days need to understand I was shooting on mini DV tapes.
Yes.
It was
I
not
can see that.
digital even. You
Mhm.
had to take the tapes off and put them in this thing and pull them off. Like it was so weird. And
Was it a CD
it was like a
still?
cassette.
It was a cassette. Okay,
Yeah.
that's what I was thinking
They're
too.
called mini DVs.
Yeah.
And it looks like it was recorded on like,
I didn't know mini DVs were even a thing though. So,
yeah.
do you think it was like because I saw like old chunky cassettes
Uh-huh.
and then the CDs.
Yeah.
What was this like a hybrid?
Yeah, they're like this big.
Okay,
If I
so
recall, if memory
yeah,
serves,
yeah.
yeah, they're like kind of in between, I guess. But yeah, so that's when I started officially my YouTube channel. But like obviously I wasn't thinking, "Oh, I'm going to be a content creator."
Right.
I was like, I'm going to share
No,
my
just a twinkle in your eye
Yeah,
at
I
that
don't really
point.
know what I wanted to do. I mean, I really loved I would say my biggest passion in life still is music. Like that's
Mhm.
what I'm like love to talk about, love to go see shows, and I always was like it'd be so cool to make music videos
Mhm.
or to work somehow in the music
Yeah.
industry with video. So I think that was kind of my goal, like on a late night show or
Mhm.
something. I don't know. That was kind of my goal. And then ended up going to college for film and video. That was a whole story because I actually just didn't know what I wanted to do. I was working in politics actually. And I took a public speaking class because
Mhm.
you had to. I was terrified. I grew up with a speech impediment. Like I grew up really, really introverted,
Mhm.
insecure, shy.
I was gonna say, did all that kind of contribute to a shyness kind
For
of about your
sure, for sure. So public
energy?
speaking, I was like, "Oh my god, I can't believe I have to take this." But I ended up just loving my instructor so much. Steve Ott, shout out to him.
Couldn't the
Like amazing.
instructors,
Yes.
teachers that are just, like, make you feel so good about something
Yeah.
really guide,
Yeah.
like, directionally people's lives,
Yeah.
I feel.
For sure. I don't even know if he realizes it, but like I don't
We
know
have to
if
find him and send him this.
yeah, I'm friends with him on Facebook.
Oh,
But
there you go.
and his wife also, Jenny Ott, like they both taught in the School of Communication at my community college.
Okay.
And so I was like, I just like Steve's classes. So I'm going to take his next
Mhm.
class and I'm going to take his wife's class. And it just kind of led me back to the School of Communication, which is where film was. So I was like, oh, well, I already love film. Like, I guess this is going to be my major.
Yeah.
So then I transferred to Western and got my degree in film and media studies. So, like, again, I just kept putting my work on YouTube and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I also found actually when I went to university for film, not to sound like, oh, a know-it-all or whatever, but I felt like because I had the training from high school and stuff, it was a little like rudimentary what I was learning.
Yeah.
Um it was I mean I learned a lot about theory, I will say, like watching films and like having discussions, but like the actual production, I was like I need more just like
Mhm.
hands-on production time. So that kind of fueled me to start YouTube of like, okay, I'm just going to get a little camera and just start shooting,
To
random
start.
stuff just to practice
Yeah.
on my own. And so that's kind of like when I started.
With the theory,
Mhm.
are you kind of talking about, like, actual, like, just, like, structure of a video?
Mhm.
And so that's where you kinda came in not knowing as much.
Yeah.
You had all the practice.
Yeah.
That's funny that you said that though, because at my orientation for college,
Yeah.
I met a bunch of people. I was gonna go into film,
Yeah.
but then I met all these people that were like, oh, I've already been editing videos, I've
Yeah.
already been doing production. I was like, I've never touched that.
Yeah.
You know, so you were definitely came in strong, I guess, in
Yeah.
knowing kind of like yourself, I
Yeah.
would say, which is a big strong suit, and I think a big stepping stone
Yeah.
to, you know, the
Yeah.
content creator you are now.
Thanks. Yeah. I guess. I don't know. I didn't feel like I knew what I was doing, but and
Do
I
we ever all know? Do
yeah.
we ever feel super confident that we know what we're doing
Yeah.
ever?
And I certainly didn't ever expect this. Like I didn't
Yeah.
expect, oh, I'm gonna have this business that's me. And I definitely didn't see myself like being the star of the show either.
That's a big difference.
Like I was
That is
like,
a
oh, I'll
huge
be behind the
difference.
camera, like
Hmm.
again, working at like some late night show or making music videos, like not being on camera. That
Hmm.
is, I mean, later in college, I did do a lot more broadcast stuff again, and it turned out like I was pretty good at it. So all my classmates would always make me be the one like read like being on camera because I
Yeah.
was always the one who was good at teleprompter and stuff.
They were
So
picking you, like specifically
yeah,
being
like if we
like,
would,
oh, Latasha should do this.
yeah, if we
That's
would
a great sign.
yeah, if we would have like group projects or whatever, I
Yeah.
would always like somebody else would be like, I can do the script. Latasha, you have to read it though, you know, and
You're like,
like
okay.
I was like,
I'm,
fine,
I like doing
whatever.
that.
Started to
You're
see
like doing
that.
your hair already. Like, fine, I
Yeah.
guess I'll go
Yeah.
on
I did
camera.
love the outfits. I always loved like the little newsroom outfits and stuff. But yeah,
Yeah.
so that's kind of I don't know. I started my YouTube channel as a makeup channel
Hmm.
because I
The
actually
the put the product
yeah,
in front of your hand so
yes.
that it
Well,
focuses
we'll share
energy.
some B-roll maybe. But yeah, like I never wore makeup in high school.
Hmm.
And I was just like in college trying to learn. So I just
Hmm.
kind of got sucked into the beauty world. I had no idea that YouTube was this whole thing. Like Michelle Phan, I don't know if you know who that
Hmm.
is. She was like the OG beauty guru. And this other girl, Bethany Mota, they were kind of like the big,
Last name kind of sounds
she was on
familiar.
Dancing with the Stars like
Oh, maybe
years
that's
ago.
why. I just
Yeah.
like saw it in press.
Yeah, they were on YouTube and they were really big. They were getting like millions of views, but it's weird to kind of explain, but I couldn't really conceptualize those numbers back then. Like,
Uh,
because again, you don't know what you don't know. So
mhm.
nowadays, people would look at somebody with a million views and be like, okay, that's the goal. I didn't know that that was a career. Like, I didn't know they were
Mm.
getting paid. I mean, I guess I figured maybe they were getting paid a
I don't
little, but like,
I
I don't
don't
know.
recall looking at views at all, like
Yeah.
growing up on YouTube or anything. I
Yeah.
wasn't. I just someone said you need to watch this, so then
Yeah.
I was more focused on that.
On the
Versus
content.
now, you kind of do. I don't know
Yeah.
about you, but I look at like the view number like
Yeah.
first. Like that's always the thing.
Yeah, because it shows, you know, because especially those of us who are in this industry or
Yeah.
want to do it, it's like shows kind of the benchmark of like, okay, well, that's possible on TikTok.
Right.
So maybe I, you know, so yeah, I don't know. It's weird to explain, but I kind of didn't even conceptualize that this was a career. And it was very different still. Even though they were getting paid, it's not like it was
It wasn't
today. They
talked
weren't
about.
making multi-millions of
Yeah.
dollars. They were like getting free makeup from CoverGirl or
No.
whatever,
And
you
I'm sure
know?
they weren't having videos like we're doing this podcast now
Yeah.
saying like this is how things work.
Yeah.
This is how it works for us and this is how maybe it could work for you. You know what I mean? There
Exactly.
weren't people doing that a bunch.
Exactly. So yeah, I was just like I had always had a blog too. Zanga, LiveJournal, those are like old school blogging platforms. I like I said, I didn't really talk very much.
Mhm.
And so writing has always been a easier way for me to communicate kind of.
Mhm.
So I always had a blog. And so yeah, I just started a YouTube channel to kind of be an extension of that blog. And I would do makeup. Like it was terrible. I mean, looking back, I'm just like
What was the
cringe.
content? Like what was like a
Um
feature that you did?
My first video ever was the best of 2012 tag, which do you know what a tag video is?
I feel like I do, but now
It's
you're
like
making me question it a little bit. I don't know.
it's like a survey basically. So
Okay.
it'll be like everybody answers the same 10 questions. So
Okay.
the best of 2012, there was a list like best blush of 2012,
Oh,
best
yes.
mascara.
Okay, I get this. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like kind of like how TikTok trends, you
Mhm.
know, how everyone does the same dance or like the same sound or whatever. It's basically the same idea. Yeah. So yeah, it was tag videos. That was my first one ever. And I would just like share the makeup, which was so funny because
Yeah.
I didn't even really wear makeup. I had like 2 makeup items that I used regularly.
Felony.
Yeah. So I was like digging through. I was like, okay, I guess I like this lipstick. Okay, this is my
That's
favorite
adorable
lipstick.
though. And that's very like I mean
Make
you're
it till you
still
make it.
taking the energy to pick out like something you like a
Yeah.
lot that you want to talk
Yeah.
about. Like the intention's still there.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is good
For
enough.
sure. So yeah, I did stuff like that. I did makeup tutorials. Get ready with me's were a big thing. Um,
When I met
yeah.
you, I feel like you were coming off of it's been like what, 8 years?
Mm-hmm.
You were coming just off of the makeup
Yeah.
world of things. Because I remember you saying that you got invited to some like convention.
Yeah.
And I was like, this girl's so cool.
Yeah.
Like
Probably Gen
she's
B.
traveling, being a
Yeah.
content creator, doing like makeup. Which always I was like, oh my gosh, that's so cool.
It was a fun era. I actually feel so nostalgic for the beauty guru
Hmm.
era because it was really wholesome and it was just mostly girls and some guys who
Hmm.
were just like fun. And it was
Yeah.
like supportive. Like there wasn't a lot of like toxic, weird
Competition.
energy. Yeah. It was just like wholesome and like sweet and like everyone got along. And yeah, I mean, my channel did grow, not to anything huge, but to like a few thousand
Hmm.
subscribers probably was. I wonder how many followers I had when I met you. It
Was
was
there
probably pretty small.
I
You
have
know,
I have
because
insanely good, this is the one thing, I have insanely good like long-term memory. I
yeah.
think it was like 32,000. Only
Okay.
because like
Yeah.
I mean, you and I have talked about this
Yeah.
since we've met, and I feel like that's been part of our
Yeah.
conversations. You're like, "Oh my gosh, I hit the 100K marker for
Yeah.
me with TikTok." When I
Yeah.
hit the 100K, I was like, "Oh my
Yes.
gosh, I hit
Yeah.
100K." Or just like, but yeah, I think you were at like 30,
Yeah.
32 or
Okay. So
something.
yeah, I grew like a
Yeah.
sizable following. I mean, not anything huge, but it was, yeah, I started getting invited to like events and
Did you
stuff
get
that
paid for anything at that point, like
um
as a content
I would get
creator?
paid sponsorships for
Okay.
sure. Not anything like today, but I would
Hmm.
get like the random $500, $1,000, like
Yeah.
and I would get a lot of free makeup, which
PR packages.
I definitely believe like content creation is a job and you shouldn't just accept free stuff for your hard work. But when you're a beauty guru and that's what your content is about, it was so nice because I didn't have to go out and buy makeup to
Yeah.
like make videos about it. So it does have value for sure.
Yeah, and like sometimes too, like I mean, that world in itself is a strategy where
Hmm.
it's like we're not going to ask anything of you, and
Yeah.
I've gotten this before too, but here's $500 worth of stuff.
Yeah.
And like their hope is really just that you talk about it in a
Yeah.
video, make a video, or wear it in a video for maybe
Exactly.
like clothing,
Yep.
things like that, which does have an impact,
Yeah, for
I think,
sure.
because a lot of people will be like, "Oh, where did I get that?"
Yeah.
Off the
And
cuff comments.
yeah, and then affiliate links too. Those started to be a thing like towards the end of my beauty guru
Oh, really? They
days.
just came in? Yeah, because I can see that timing
Yeah,
wise
which is where obviously you get paid for like, hey, I wore this mascara, and then you
Yeah,
get paid for the link clicks.
on
So
the
people
back
started to
end.
making like a lot of money with that kind of stuff. But yeah, then I transitioned my content to
What was that
my life.
deciding? Okay, this is a big, I think this is a big question in terms of like the content creation side of you now.
Hmm.
What made you think, okay, beauty is not what I want to go 100% in on. I don't want to
Yeah.
make money doing this as a living, but I do maybe want to make a living, part of a living even, doing what you do
Yeah.
now, maybe.
So here's the thing, my content has always just been an extension of my life. And though I did have a niche, which was beauty,
Mhm.
it really like, there's that phrase like I am the niche.
Yeah.
I was the niche. You know what I mean? That was what I was interested in at the time. It was
Yeah.
fun. Like I said, I made a lot of friends and whatever through that world. But I graduated college and then I shifted to career mode.
Mhm.
And also, even really even before graduating college, I started to really get into the business of YouTube. Like I
Yeah.
started to see, I did hit 1,000 subscribers or whatever that might be. And I'm like, okay, wait, like,
Growth.
yeah,
Whoa,
like, hold
okay.
on. Like how let
This
me
is
study
working.
this. Yeah, like it's a science, to some degree. It's an art and a science. And so like I started getting into like SEO and
Mhm.
just learning more about like social media marketing and all that kind of stuff. So I sort of started to yeah, get more into business
Mhm.
and yeah, I watched a lot of people like Gary Vaynerchuk.
Remember him.
We love the guy. He really inspired me a lot. I would listen to his podcast like every single day. He was one of the only people doing that style of video podcast, like advice,
Mhm.
marketing kind of podcast at that time. And he kind of inspired me to start a business too, of like, okay, you have all these skills, you can make YouTube for yourself. So do it for other people, start a social
Yeah.
media side hustle and stuff
It
like
really
that.
just takes like, and that's why I hope maybe this podcast in itself inspires people of
Yeah.
like the new wave, which we think we
Hmm.
know can be the future
Yeah.
of all these people kind of getting in on content creation. And again, having a job where
Yeah.
it's creative art mix takes us seeing just people doing it
Yeah.
and telling us a little bit about
Hmm.
how to, actually go about it.
Yeah. You don't know what's possible sometimes until
Mhm.
people show it. So yeah, I took like my first freelance video client when I was still in college. It was a local author. It was really fun. I shot like a promotional video for her
That's
book.
fun.
And yeah, so I was kind of freelancing. I did some freelance writing, and yeah, my priorities just kind of changed.
Mhm.
And, I wasn't putting on makeup every day to go to the chicken farm to film like this lady. Like, I was,
You're a production crew. I always
priorities
think
changed.
about I did this one collab
Mhm.
where my amazing husband helps me.
Mhm.
Shout out to Paul. He was my filmer for the day, and
Yeah.
he just wore like I dressed for the part, which was very much like a certain theme
Yeah.
and was very bright. And then he just he walks down the stairs and it's just all black,
Yes.
holding his camera, like,
I love
okay,
it.
let's do this. And I'm like, it's a different vibe.
Yeah,
It's like,
totally.
okay, I'm behind the scenes. I'm
Yeah,
here to highlight someone else.
exactly.
So then that was kind of your spark into more production,
Yeah.
but more professional
Yeah.
sounding
Yeah,
production
for sure.
too.
Yeah, so I was freelancing, and then I graduated college, got a job here in Detroit,
Mhm.
and had 11 days to move. Got the job offer, figured out a place to live randomly, and then it was like I really had to change my content
Mhm.
for 2 reasons. One, I didn't have the space anymore. I was living in, like, a house when I was in college, and I had all this, like I had a whole filming room
Mhm.
to do all my makeup videos, and I had this
The
tiny little
dream.
bedroom in Royal Oak, which I'm
The
grateful
dream.
for. Shout out to my roommates, like, in her childhood home, like, letting me live there. But, yeah, I just didn't have the same,
Yeah.
space. Was working a full-time job, which when you transition to that life from even though I was working a lot in college, I mean, it's such a wake-up call, like,
Mm.
working 40 hours a week, having the
It's a lot.
commute, like
Being on the schedule of so much of society,
yes.
like that,
Yeah,
9 to 5 energy.
totally. So, yeah, I just couldn't make videos in the same way, and then also, again, my priorities changed and my interests changed. I was in this huge city, like, I grew up in a city of 75,000 people, and I moved to Detroit,
Mhm.
which is, I don't even know,
Like
700K or
600,
something, yeah.
700,000, yeah.
So, I was just like, "Oh my gosh, like, this is amazing," and so I was going out to eat and going to see
Bright
art,
lights
and
in the big
yeah, I was
city.
just a city girl. And so I started doing more vlogs, honestly, because it was just easier to create because I could leave my tiny little bedroom, and my bedroom was green, by the way. The walls were green, so it was like not like good
Yeah.
for camera. So yeah, I could just take my phone or take
Great
my
as a background
yeah,
for
yeah.
cutting you out and putting you in anywhere.
Yes, green screen. I should have done that. I should have done that. But yeah, so I just started kind of like vlogging and just sharing my life a little bit more, which in turn
Yeah.
led to business content because it was
Mhm.
like, okay, so it's Saturday and I'm going to see this client or I'm working on this blog post, and people would be like,
It's
"Oh, wait,
okay.
what
Like,
is freelancing? What is
what
this?"
is
And
that?
they started
Because
asking
it
questions.
was a new term. I
Yeah.
mean, I feel like I had it in my head when I came back about starting my business,
Yeah.
and I knew it was freelancing, but
Mhm.
I did not have that word yet. So
Yeah.
it definitely wasn't popular
Yeah.
until that time
I
that it kind of came
mean,
about.
I like to say
Not that
I
you're
was a trendsetter,
not to
honestly.
say like
Yeah.
you were a bit of a I mean to me you were.
Yeah.
You were definitely on the cusp of everything that was like newer coming out, which I
Mhm.
feel like was like amazing, obviously. And
Yeah.
that's why I think gravitated me I mean, on top of your amazing personality, I guess. It was just that I mean, me and you were having such great conversations
Yeah.
about like where the world was going in terms of like freelance,
Yeah.
digital. So then I guess even taking that question further though, when it came to you turning professional, at
Yeah.
what point did it become like serious for you?
Yeah.
Or did it start feeling serious? Because that's a big gut transition, I think,
Mhm.
that people can experience.
I would say for me, it was definitely the podcast. I launched the podcast in January 2018, I believe.
Originally, still the Freelance Friday
Yeah.
podcast, right?
Yep. And along with that podcast, I think right after, or maybe actually, no, I think before I had launched my first course.
Hmm.
And I mean, it was small. Like, I was like, I was making maybe $100 a month or something
Hmm.
like that from it. But I was seeing that number go up every month. It started as like $20, and then it was
Yeah.
like 100, and then like $500 a
You're
month. And I
like,
was like, okay,
okay.
again, I'm seeing the science of this. Like, I'm
Yeah.
seeing like that there is growth
I
potential
do
to it.
X, I get Y.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
mean, that was my first corporate job too, so it's not like, $1,000 wasn't a lot less than what I was making, for my salary. So I was like, hold on,
Hmm.
like, how can I duplicate these efforts? So I started to see growth potential around then, like 2018 or so. The podcast really helped too, because it was like it really helped me hone in on that niche. To your point,
Hmm.
freelance Friday, like I was really buttoned up kind of before I was just like filming my life. And
Right.
that could be a restaurant, that could be hanging out with my friend, that could be
You're like, "Ooh,
anything.
lifestyle."
Yeah. But having that like consistent every Friday, I'm talking about freelancing. I think that really helped me grow an audience and like sell more.
Consistency. They say it all the time.
I know.
Consistent, be consistent.
I hate hearing it because I'm so
But it works.
multi-passionate. I know. I'm like, but I want to do everything.
You want to do, I know that's the hard part
Yes.
to restrain.
It's hard.
What made you think of to do a class or online course?
Okay, for this, I have to shout out Amy Porterfield. I don't know if you've ever heard of the
Yeah, I
gal.
think I heard her through you.
Yeah, probably. So yeah, like Gary Vaynerchuk and Amy Porterfield, I owe them both a lot. She is like, that's her whole thing, is creating courses. She teaches people how to do it. And I don't know, I just was consuming a lot of business content, and everyone always asked me like, "Oh, were you trying to quit your job and stuff?" I really
Mhm.
wasn't. I was
Yeah.
just like, I don't know, like if there's a way to succeed at this, why not? Like, why not
Mhm.
have multiple things, multiple buckets that you can pull
Yeah.
from? And also, I would say the other thing that Amy is like kind of how I knew what a course was. But I would say the desire to create it came from my audience, because they would ask me questions like, can you help me with Facebook Business
Yeah.
Manager? Which, like, as you know, that's not something I can just tell you the answer.
Mhm.
It's like I need to like click around and like, because it's so kind of convoluted and
Yeah.
stuff. So I was like, I need to be able to share
Yeah,
screen
I get
shares
that.
and like detailed kind of tutorials.
People are always asking like, "Oh, how do I do this?" Or "What's your take on like TikTok?" And I'm,
How much
now
time
that
do you have?
I have, the small course, whatever that I did, I was
Yeah.
like, it's crazy how right after that, I think I was telling you,
Yeah.
"Oh my gosh, this makes so much sense now to make this,"
Yeah.
because you realize many people ask you just little one-off questions
Yes.
that although it's not like, "Hey, pay for this," but
Yeah.
in like it's really I put my heart and soul into giving the great info here.
Yeah.
So like that's the best answer for you, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah. To get like that
Right. To
foundational
get the
information.
foundational
Yeah.
information, you need it
For
kind of
sure.
deal.
Yeah.
So it
So,
kind of sparked, yeah. I like the sound of everything you say, which I think is a testament that we talk about a lot to each
mhm.
other of like you want to naturally flow into things.
Yeah.
So like when the pressure's on you to try to like leave your corporate job, I
Yes.
feel like you start losing the passion and love.
Yeah.
Would you agree? Kind of like
100%
behind that?
agree. Yeah, I 100% agree, because like I said, it's always just been a reflection of where I'm at in my life. And of course, like I also have to shout out another mentor, Carl Brown from Kalamazoo. Shout out to
Shout outs
him.
today.
Yeah, like giving my flowers for sure.
You
Because
have
back when I
to.
was
That's good.
blogging in college, he's like a marketing entrepreneurship guy in Kalamazoo. And he was like, ask yourself before you press publish on all of your blog posts, how is this helping people?
Mhm.
And so that's always been like my golden rule of content. So, like, yeah, it's always been a reflection of my life, but of course, I've also wanted to make it helpful for people too,
Yeah.
but not to the detriment of my passion or creativity, or vice versa.
You
Like,
got to
it's like
think
you
of
have to,
yourself.
yeah, for sure. You have to be inspired by it,
Yeah.
because I always say this. I'm like, I know the formula. Like people will be like, you don't get very many views on YouTube. I'm like, first of all, rude. First of all,
I'm
rude.
also just gonna say this rude.
Yes,
First.
rude. Second of all, I know that if I,
Did a video
six
about
figure,
it.
how I make this much money, do this, no experience. I know the
Yes.
formula. Okay. Like,
Yes.
I know how to do it. I just don't want to. I don't want to
Yes.
play that game.
Same.
I feel a lot better having just like normal
Right.
growth and normal whatever,
Yes.
and being myself, rather than feeling pressured to be
Right.
this like machine. So
No.
similar.
Same.
Yeah.
Same. I feel like the niche, like I know how to make a niche video that will do very
Yes.
well. Yes. But when your friend or your
Yeah.
husband mentions something that's like, hey, do this idea. I think it'd be really fun. I'm like, that sounds amazing and fun. I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
I did it. It doesn't get
Yeah.
my favorite videos. I don't know if you have the same. My favorite do not do well.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, 100%. Don't
I'm
even get me
always like,
started. Yes.
like some of them in the past have
Mhm.
when they're like big orchestration, like a bigger
Mhm.
production.
Mhm.
But if it's like just an idea I have off the cuff and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm giggling about it so much,
Yeah.
the algorithm's
Tanks.
like, hey, no,
It tanks.
give us your other stuff.
It humbles you
Do
real
not.
quick.
It does. It does.
But I will say, I
It does.
think that every piece of content has its place,
Yeah.
has its purpose, I guess, because for me, that's my vlogs.
Mhm.
I love vlogging for so many different
They're
ways.
cute. I like
They're
your vlogs.
fun. Thank you. They're fun. Like, I just selfishly like to look back at them. Like, I have my trip to Paris on
Yeah.
a vlog. I have going to Gen Beauty, like
Montreal.
Montreal Thrive, like all of these different things. So I like them selfishly, and I think it challenges me creatively because it's more of like a story, like
Yeah.
a true like story
Arc.
arc.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
gonna say like how
Eh,
you were saying the science behind
yeah,
everything.
exactly. And for my audience, they build a closer, more tight knit audience than me being like, here's 5 hacks how to win an Instagram.
Yeah.
And so, like, I'm not gonna quit making vlogs just because they
No.
get poor views because it keeps my creativity alive. It keeps my
Yeah.
passion for YouTube alive, if nothing else.
Strategy wise, though, I don't think
You're like,
we've
stop making
talked.
vlogs.
No,
Strategy
no, I was
wise.
gonna. Strategy wise, should you be doing that? No, I'm just kidding. No, I was gonna say strategy wise. To hear you say that actually just makes something click in my brain.
Mhm.
I do these ones that I think are great,
Yeah.
and I think if somebody watches that and they don't like it, I'm kind of like, you don't know me then,
Yeah.
and like you're not really watching me for me,
Right.
and I'm almost happy you unfollow if you do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that is it's almost like a relationship builder,
Yeah.
despite it maybe being something that the algorithm doesn't like.
Yes. I mean, I can relate it to my favorite artist, Connor Oberst of Bright Eyes. So on almost all Bright Eyes records, the first track is like this weird, like it'll be like people talking, like like a voicemail, like
Mhm.
answering machine, like crumbling, like all this weird. You're like, what is this? And at least what he used to say is he does that intentionally to ward off casual listeners so that like random people who are expecting this like happy pop song are gonna be like, what is this?
Yeah.
Turn it off. Like, which is
No,
kind of like
that's genius.
it's a little
For like
pretentious,
someone
but
who
it's yeah.
it's a little bit
I love you,
it's going
Connor.
far. It's going far. But I mean, what
Yeah,
a way to keep your art kind of the way you want it,
exactly.
I guess, and not give in any kind of way
Yeah,
whatsoever
for
to
sure.
literally ward off people
Yeah,
that aren't going to be your tight knit,
yeah, for
So,
sure.
because that's what I always, I mean, well, I'll probably mention it a lot, but I just mentioned it to you before coming out of like, I get a lot of my inspiration from drag queens
Yeah.
because a lot of these girls go on these shows or
Uh-huh.
they're always booked, they're busy, they're
Yeah.
working, and they all do the different setups. And I just feel like it's always about developing your tight knit
Mm-hmm.
audience. And one of the most famous drag queens right now, I've been following her journey. Even Business Insider did a little cover because she was really focusing on that tight knit group more than
Mm.
anybody else.
Yeah.
She was like, "Come here, I'll get photos with you. I'll do everything. I'll do
Yeah. I love
anything
that.
for you." And now she's
Mm-hmm.
with the masses
Yeah.
because that tight knit
Yeah.
helped branch out.
Right. For
The
sure.
reach of sharing things and what have
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
So
You got to be true to you, and the right people will find you.
yeah.
You know?
So we talked about everything getting to this point.
Yeah.
And is there anything that you feel like you need to mention about like how you got to your point right now that you didn't? I feel like we
Okay.
covered a lot though, but
We did cover a lot, but I guess to give people some tactical stuff.
I
So,
like that.
multiple revenue streams for sure. If you want to like do this full time, what I always teach people is a product, a service,
Mhm.
and a brand. Like a brand relationship. So for me, I already talked about the course. I had this little course, building, 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 which was a nice little mini little chunk of
Mhm.
change. Service. So then I was doing freelance social media, freelance writing, freelance video on the side. And then brands, we kind of talked about that too. Like I started working with sponsors, started doing affiliate links and stuff like that. So by the time I was like, okay, I actually might want to go full time, I had so many different levers that I could pull. Because to your point of like doing things out of desperation, if you're like, oh my gosh, I need YouTube AdSense to be good this month,
Now.
or I need, you're not gonna be creating in an authentic way. And you're also probably not, it's probably not gonna work. Cause like spoiler alert, YouTube AdSense pays like nothing. So you have to have different levers you can pull. So I'd say that's kind of how I got to the point of being able to go full time at
Yeah.
least.
And kind of building on it in it, like I said, to like a natural way, it sounded
Hmm.
like it wasn't the out of desperation thing. We need to say again, I think,
Yeah.
just like really make that concrete
Yeah.
because people come to me and they say, "Oh, I want to do what you do. Oh, I want to start this."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Okay, but what are you already doing
Yeah.
that you like, that you want to do?" But
Yeah.
sometimes they'll say, "Oh, I want to do something, but it's completely out of left field."
Yeah.
I feel like that doesn't tend to work as well. So it sounds like your journey really was it to me it felt like a very natural progression
Yeah, for
into
sure.
everything.
Yeah. And I think the other thing is consistency, which again, I know this
That's
is
the work
like,
aspect. You have
yeah,
the inspirational aspect, and then there's like,
yeah.
okay, you got to get down to work and
It's
do this.
like going to the gym. You
Yeah,
want abs?
that's true
Cool.
too.
You got to get the reps in. I'm
Yeah,
sorry to tell you.
yeah.
Like you don't just do it once, and you even like with viral content, which I'm excited to talk to you a little bit more about because I feel
That
like
is the
I've
difference.
had stay tuned.
Stay tuned for
Yeah.
the next one.
But I mean, my perspective is because I've had like semi-viral videos, like I've had videos that do really well. You still need like the consistency to make it last for a long
Yeah,
time. That can give you a boost. It can be nice, but you still need like those regular touch
yeah.
points with an audience, at least on YouTube.
I have a lot to
Oh
say
yeah.
in the next episode about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
About like, yes, going viral. There's a big but.
Yeah. Yeah. For
That comes
sure.
down to that.
Definitely.
Well, I feel like that's a good point to end this first
Yeah.
episode on. Do you agree?
I think so.
Oh my gosh.
Yay.
Thank you for tuning in. And we're going to be talking about my content creator journey, which I think is almost like a little bit like the flip side of
Yeah.
yours. Even though it's similar, there's a lot of similarities. So it's a little bit of the flip side. So
We're going to take you into the 2020s.
yeah.
Take you out of 2008 and go into the future.
The future.
The virality, vertical content.
Vertical video is here.
Yeah.
TikTok is just switched their name from ByteDance, or it was, what was it before?
Musically.
Musically.
Yeah.
That's what ByteDance is the company. But yeah, TikTok just switched it, and that's where our next story begins.
Should we do like a little intro to the podcast, like why
Yeah.
we're starting this podcast?
Yeah,
or
I like
something?
that. It's a little like fireside chat after
Yeah.
the show kind of deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do that. I would say my reason
Yeah.
for being very excited about this is that they're just to be able to talk about what it's really like.
Yeah.
I think you and I experienced that from entrepreneurship alone,
Yeah.
which not a lot of people even talk about
Mhm.
still, I would say, of the emotional side of it,
Yeah.
the things that just go outside of the work.
Yeah.
And I really want to talk about that from a content perspective.
Yeah.
I think it's fun. And we have, I don't know, just being able to do your passion,
Yeah.
creative stuff, I think it's just a gem.
Yeah, for sure.
But
Yeah.
comes with a lot.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we started doing these masterminds.
Oh yeah, you're right. That is
Like,
like the true start of it.
Yeah. And I don't even know how that came up. I think we're
I
just
think I was like,
You're like,
can
"I
I
need help."
talk about my feelings
Yeah.
and like content stuff?
Yeah,
'Cause
we
I
both
really,
need help.
I'm like struggling a little bit over here.
Yeah, we always like we've been friends for like 8 years or
Yeah.
something like that. And we actually met kind of doing
Via
content creation stuff. It's a long story, but yeah, so we've always like been friends, but we've also always talked work sometimes. So
We've
if
had that relationship.
one of us has a contract that we're like, what does this mean? Or if
Mhm.
I'm just like, hey, do you think I should do this thing? Like
Yeah.
you're always the person I go to. So yeah, I think we're like, let's just start meeting on a regular basis. Just have like a quick little 30-minute, whatever,
Mhm.
what's going on in your life with content specifically.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. I had this idea to create like a content creation specific show for a while, but I was like to the point of solo podcast. I'm like, no, nobody wants to
No.
hear me talk into a microphone again
We
by
both-
myself.
And I think our love of podcasts really I mean, you were
Yeah.
already doing the podcast, and again, it was more like your solo.
Yeah.
I know I was doing podcasts too,
Yeah.
and like I've already done one that was completely separate from what I do now.
Yep.
And it's more solo, although I love having guests.
Yeah.
I've really found that love for
Yeah.
just casual conversation
Yes.
about it, because being able to bounce off someone else, I think just gives that much more knowledge to everybody watching
Totally.
and makes it that much more exciting.
Yeah.
I think certain topics.
Yeah.
Obviously, some other ones are more business.
For sure. And I also think it's really helpful that we do have these very similar journeys, but very different in
They're
some
always the
ways
flip
too.
side. It's like always
Yeah.
the flip side, but again, yeah, it's like the same way.
Yeah. Like I know nothing about TikTok.
Right.
I like what? I mean, you know about YouTube, obviously, but your
Yeah.
primary platform is like TikTok, Instagram. I'm like
Right.
YouTube, like
And
whatever.
I think my perspective too is a little different because I'm so in the weeds on like the PPC analytics
that's
side
true.
of things.
Yeah,
Like
it's true.
going so deep into that.
Yeah.
And then it kind of like you're the opposite side,
Yeah.
essentially. But it's all related.
Yeah, for sure. So we're gonna bring you some interesting, diverse perspectives and maybe some lols.
A lot of laws, I hope.
Is that millennial of me to say?
I don't even
LOL.
know if lols is a thing.
I don't know.
We were talking about how Latasha's a little bit more millennial energy, and I am a little bit more Gen
Yeah.
Z-ish. Not really, but
Yeah.
even though we're pretty close in age.
Yeah, it's fine. Keep me young. But
You keep me young.
be sure to subscribe
Yes.
to the podcast
Mhm.
down below.
Be sure to subscribe and tune in. Like I said, too, in the comments, let us know if you like this episode, if you have certain things about content creation that you're curious about. I would love,
Yeah,
I've always
questions.
wanted like active questions during a
Yes.
podcast because I feel like, again, we get people coming up to us all the
Yeah.
time asking about like, hey, I just want to start a TikTok.
Yeah.
Where do I start?
Yeah.
Like that could be a whole conversation we have because our life, like I said, have been talking about this for years.
Yeah.
So really just bringing all that information to you.
Yeah. All right. Talk to you next time.
Bye.
Yay.
That was such a good idea for the little fireside chat.
Yeah. Okay, I'll stop that.